microphone. Pledge of Allegiance. Now we have the open forum. Did anyone sign up for the open forum? No? Okay, I hope somebody signs up now that we voted to have that. Next time, please, everybody sign up. Okay. Consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Mr. Eric?
Yes, request for maternity leave, Michelle Bennett. Appointments, long-term sub PE and health at the high school, Brian Cleary, and unified basketball coach at the middle school, Steve Schreiner. And the correspondence was from Newport County Regional Special Education, inviting everyone to the Newport County Regional Recognition Awards Night, which is May 22nd at 6:30, and it will be held here in the auditorium.
Okay, thank you. And that's the end of the consent agenda. Now we have the,
I make a motion to move items 11A,
No, first we have
1
to-
through 6.
first I have to do that. First I gotta do 7.
I
7 through
apologize.
9. That's okay. And then we'll do that, okay? We're just gonna skip over the budget. Resignation of chairperson of school committee, that would be me. And I just want everyone to know, I'm not stepping down, I'm just moving over to where I started in 2004. And I still pledge to all the people of Tiverton to work hard every day and night for all the kids of the town. Thank you very much.
To accept the resignation
Okay,
as chair.
As vice chair, I'll entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Mrs. Black as chairman.
Second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor with regret? Okay, so before we move on to item number 8, I think it's appropriate at this time to thank Mrs. Black on behalf of the committee for all of her years as chairperson. I think I sort of recall when she was running for election in 2012, the Newport Daily News in its endorsement described her as the fairy godmother of the Tiverton School District. And I think that resonated with everybody, but I actually think that I would call her the godmother of the Tiverton School District, because we all know that fairy godmothers are not real, but godmothers are real, tangible, and completely present to all of us. So,
Thank you.
Mrs. Black, I expect you will continue as our godmother
I will.
and our guiding light, and on behalf of all the members of the committee, the community, the children of Tiverton, I thank you for your many years of service, and we look forward to many more years of service.
Thank you.
This is neither hello nor goodbye.
Thank you.
Okay. So, moving to number 8, election of school committee chairperson. This is a bit unexpected, and yep.
Just push it away a little bit.
I'm sorry. Am I too close?
You're getting a little feedback,
So
yeah.
like a budget committee? Okay, all right. So this is a little bit of a surprise, so just in case any of the other committee members would like to do so, I will entertain a motion to table this matter. Okay, having no such motions, I'll entertain nominations for chairperson of the Tiverton School Committee.
I nominate Dr. Lofton as the chairperson of the school committee.
I second that motion.
You got very big gold shoes to fill.
I'll get the spray paint.
Any other nominations? Going once, going twice. Okay. All those, all those in favor? I will abstain so I can at least have some plausible deniability with my wife. So thank you for your confidence. Now we need to entertain nominations for vice chairperson.
I'll nominate Sally Black.
I will second that nomination. Any other nominations? Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Mrs. Black, congratulations.
Thank you, everyone. That will be fun. We'll be a good team, Dr.
I agree. I think we will be a good and strong team. All right. So that moves us to item.
So, Mrs. Farnworth.
Ms. Farnworth, Diane?
You sure?
Fire away.
I do apologize. I'd like to make a motion that we move items 11A, 1 through 6, and 11C, D, and E up on the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Okay.
I'm going to ask Mr. McKinnon to come up and to read the awards out for our all-state cheerleading team, to all the members that were on this year's team.
Are they here?
If the girls,
Saw was that for number 2, the public forum, that at the end, Jeff and Justin stated they were not involved in the charter complaint.
You want to add that in?
Yeah, because,
I have that note too.
because they,
come forward, those of you who are here.
Ms. McDermott?
Bring the coach and the players up.
Bring the girl.
I think we're gonna call them up.
Oh, good.
I think we're starting to have a little bit of a dynasty here with our girls cheerleading team. This is the second year in a row where the girls cheerleading squad has won the state championship. Talking to Coach McDermott earlier, she had 5 seniors who graduated last year and wasn't expecting too much of this year's group, and they seemed to turn it on in a pretty good fashion.
stated it.
I have a note I recorded at the time regarding at least me. Mrs. Christ, what I wrote down to correct these minutes is I don't know if it's Miss or Mrs. Christ, was incorrect.
Senior and 1 junior on the team. They're almost all sophomores and 2 freshmen. So it's quite an accomplishment for a very young team. I'm going to turn it over to Coach McDermott in one moment just to speak to of all her girls. They competed March 11th at the Providence Career and Tech Center in Providence and won the state championship small division for Tiverton, Rhode Island. Their 1 senior captain is Lily Raposa. You want to introduce her? I'll introduce her. Junior Alexis Souza. Sophomore Nevaeh Brandt. Sophomore Michaela Cabral. Sophomore Olivia Destrumps. Sophomore Mackenzie Galato. Sophomore Juliana Manusos. Sophomore Emma Phillips. Sophomore Charlene Silva. Freshman Emma Franklin. And freshman Margot Souza. The 2017 Girls State Champion cheerleaders.
Thank you.
At this time, could our music teachers come forward, please? Mr. Snyzik and company. And I'm not quite sure what order, or who would like to do the announcing of the names, but we have up first our All-State Elementary Chorus.
Just real quick, for those of you who don't know how the All-State process worked, back in November, a rather large group of our students, 7th through 12th grade, went to Moses Brown on a Saturday and competed against all the other schools in Rhode Island. And how they do it is each instrument has a solo they have to play for the same judge with all the schools, and then they're ranked by their scores, and then the top, however many students actually get to participate in the groups as a junior and senior level. And 2 weekends ago at Moses Brown and at the Rhode Island Philharmonic School, they rehearsed all day Friday, all day Saturday, and then had 3 concerts at Veterans in Providence for parents, friends, family. So it was a really good weekend, and we'll start with Miss Bergeron and her elementary chorus students.
Thank you for this recognition. It's most appreciated. Kylie Azevedo. Dylan Glotty. Robert Campion. Nanita Beebe. Ava Guarneri. Senya Azamek. And Jaden Souza. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the recognition. I have 2 students. We'll start with Junior All-State Orchestra Cello, Alyssa LeCaire. And for Senior All-State Mixed Chorus, Kristen Candera. Thank you.
Good evening. We have one student from the 7th and 8th grade band, 8th grade trumpet player Andrew Chenier. Thanks so much.
For the junior all-state band, 9th grader on flute, Shauna Lance. And in senior all-state on percussion, we had Bennett Flanagan. And also senior all-state band on tuba, Dan Farnworth. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, may I say something?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. So the other night I was at the concert, and of course I was blown away like we always are. And I said, we have to recognize these students too. We have all the athletes, all state and everything. They all work as hard as anyone else, so I'm glad you all got to come. Thank you very much.
I just want to give a quick shout out to the parents. A lot of the band and a lot of the cheerleaders, I'm hearing family names. We're creating legacies. And
Yep, that's right.
congratulations.
Yep. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay. So we are on 11C. Okay, presentation from RGB Architects regarding the timeline for renovations to the high school and middle school. Mr. Quattro?
Rich? Yes, Mr. DeQuattro, for those in the audience who don't know, Dave represents RGB Architects, which is the firm who was awarded the contract to oversee the renovations to the high school and the middle school. Dave wants to review with the committee Oh, I'm sorry.
I just saw Mr. Perry, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm going, I did call him Dave. This information that Mr. DeQuattro is about to go over, he went over with the building committee about 2 weeks ago. We have another building committee meeting next Tuesday, I believe, on the 4th, where we'll be going over some construction documents, and I'm sure Mr. DeQuattro will fill you in on that as well. So I'll turn it over to Dave and let him inform us as to where we are with the project.
Okay, so for, just to be able to read the chart, what you want to look at is just the items to the left. Those are usually the tasks at hand. So I'll be real brief on this one. What we've been explaining to the building committee, as everyone may or may not know, the scope of work would be the middle school and the high school roof and boiler work. So the condition of the roofs are pretty bad, as everyone knows. They leak, and there's insulation that's deteriorated, some metal deck that's probably rotted. But also on the high school, there's a deterioration of some masonry areas, and also the stucco areas near the roof where the roof comes back up. So there's a lot of miscellaneous stuff on the high school. Whereas the middle school, it's pretty basic. It's just a roof and boilers. So the big thing is, how do you divide the work out, and how do you get the most out of a general contractor during the summertime to get the roofs done? So we've met with a few roofing companies to get their opinion on how much they can handle, how much they can do, with not only what's going on in Tiverton, but what's always going on in the neighboring counties and communities that we know of. And there's a lot of work being planned for this summer. So with that said, if you look at line number 10, it's the middle school roof project. We've conditioned this so that with bidding, purchasing, assignment of a contractor, you could start construction by June 19th and end by the 18th of August, thereby doing all the work in the summertime, not affecting any kind of smell or debris or demolition or construction. And that would take care of that roof. The other package that's going out is labeled and itemized on number 15, which is on page 2. Number 15 puts the schedule till next year. So it starts this summer, and that's boiler replacements and repairs, and then roofing of the high school. Again, the high school has to deal with masonry restoration. Some of the masonry joints, like the brick joints behind you, have deteriorated, and there's other areas like the stucco. It's an original stucco, not a drive-it product like you'd see in some kind of commercial application that you'd see in the TJ Maxx or whatnot. That's a drive-it. It's made to look like stucco. This is a real stucco. It was done in the 60s. So when real stucco goes, there's a little bit of a work to get it out of there and replace it. And a lot of these things that we're finding, whether it be masonry and stucco and metal deck, a lot of roofing companies we've interviewed shy away from that. They just want to do their roof and get it done. So we have to bring in a general contractor for that. So we want to do 2 packages. Package A would be for a middle school roof, and then package B would be for the high school roof and the miscellaneous repairs along with the boilers. Now, one thing I've entertained with the building committee to expedite it is to purchase the boilers in advance. If the town elects to purchase the boilers in advance, in essence putting them in a trailer somewhere and storing them, the big thing is lead time. So once you get that out of the way and you order your boilers, they're here, and there's not a delay of when they can come in and when they can pipe them and install them. You want the boilers in prior to the winter time, obviously. So that's what we would try to do. So that's what I have tonight to present. I don't know if there's any questions. As Bill alluded to, I am meeting with the building committee, and we meet every month. So we give them an update of where the drawings are, what the cost estimates are, what the project progress is at that point. We'll be meeting every month all the way through that construction period.
Can you,
Disruptions of the staff that are in the building over the summer, they're fine, we're gonna move them out.
well, we really don't have, we have principals and secretaries, but I don't think that would be impacted because the schools are pretty much vacated in the summertime. And so what Mr. DeQuattro is saying is we originally thought we would be able to do both roofs simultaneously and get them done within a year, within the summer for summer of 18, but that's not what he's proposing that we'll be doing. We have the next item on the agenda is to give permission to RGB to go out to bid for these packages, so that if you notice on the timeline, there's a lot of RIDE meetings that have to take place between now in June for these projects to get up and running. We have to get their approval at different stages. So I thought it was important, and the building committee thought it was important that the committee understand that we're looking at the roofs done over a 2-year window, not just one summer, and that this summer, in addition to the roof being replaced at the middle school, the goal is to have the boilers installed in both schools, right?
Yeah, and also some work on the high school, but we would do it in segments, whatever areas we can accomplish in that time period.
Right. For the
So
roof,
not
for the roof as well?
Yeah, not to disrupt.
All right, so
any
there'd be some
children.
work done at the high school?
Correct.
But not completed?
Correct.
Got
So, do you anticipate doing HVAC for both before next winter?
That's what we anticipate, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we're trying to purchase some equipment.
So really, the only work in 18 would be the roof?
Correct.
Yep, okay.
You could have some miscellaneous things that weren't
Right.
caught that couldn't have access to, but we're trying to secure the bids and the numbers so they don't escalate. So,
So just so that, that's a good question. On the HVAC, I understand, I understand the boilers we're putting in, but everything else is gonna be piped this summer as well?
correct, that's what we're attempting,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Good.
And you mentioned getting the boilers early. Was that?
If you give permission for the committee, if you give permission for the next
Bids.
item, RGB, to go to bid, they'll go to bid,
Yeah.
and then all bids will come back. You have to approve, nothing gets purchased without your approval, but RGB needs
Yep.
your approval to go on the bid, to begin, excuse me, the bid process.
Yep.
How does the 2 years affect the bonding and the reimbursement?
I think as long as we give Ryback enough advance notice, they'll be able to stagger the borrowing so they don't run into any issues with borrowing it all up front, and then you have arbitrage issues and
And
other
there's also a
concerns.
meeting coming up in the next 2 weeks with them, right, to go over the
Yeah,
project?
I think they have us on the agenda for a few consecutive monthly meetings, although they've approved it last month. I think they want to hear more about the projects as they progress, so we're anticipating April 13th to appear before them again.
And I would imagine this is not typical.
It's totally typical. What everyone has to understand is that you're not the only community doing work in the summertime, so every one of them are. So there's a huge push on manpower. There's just so many people that can do that. So what you want to be able to do is go out front and be ahead of them. So if I have all the pieces of equipment there, there's no reason why they can't just put it together. There is a lot of, when you're replacing pipes in classrooms, as you can see behind you, there's a lot of casework that's built in, and that takes some time to do that. So scheduling that with the contractor and scheduling that and letting people know will be the upcoming month's agendas, meetings.
Okay. So we don't need to vote for that, but
No.
we can move on to.
The next item you do need to vote on.
Yes, 11D, request permission to seek bids to replace the roofs and HVAC systems at the high school and middle school. So we have a motion to approve the.
Second.
Okay, I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Dave. And I just want to thank members of
Thank you,
the building committee
Yes.
that are here today. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. We'll see you next Tuesday, again. And Mrs. Levesque will bring the cookies and we'll be all set. Life is good. The life is good at those
What time is
meetings.
that meeting? Is that Tuesday at 7?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Did we move up E?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so 10 or 11E, Fab Newport presentations regarding technology and coding.
Hello, my name is Steve Heath, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. Congratulations to you guys. Tiverton is the home of champions, and I know your basketball team won a state tournament for the first time in a long time also, so great for all your success. I've known Sally and Linda for about 10 years, worked side by side with them on the Newport County Co-op Mentorship Group, and I worked at the med school for 8 years where I got to know these guys, and now I run an organization called Fab Newport, and I've been going around as part of my work and talking to the different school districts and just seeing if there's ways that our work can support things that you're doing in your classrooms and outside of your classrooms. And I don't want to sound like a huckster, but I just want to take a couple of minutes and tell you guys what we do, and if you're interested, feel free to ask me any questions. So at Fab Newport, our mission is to liberate the maker intrinsic in all of us, and we believe all of our youth are meant to make things, and we definitely teach people how to make stuff with a focus on technology, but we're also interested in how our children are going to make their lives, because we know they're going out into an unpredictable future in which we have no idea what their jobs are going to be. And I know you guys here at Tiverton have an amazing array of technical and humanities programs and do a great job of mixing that up. And we have partnered with schools in developing maker spaces. We teach college level computer science. We teach 3D modeling with Inventor, which I believe you guys also teach here. We also have worked with schools to integrate what we call maker-centered learning, and which is focused on distributive learning. So if you come into our space, we run a lab in Newport where people come after school. We run high school classes as part of the advanced course network. So I think you guys are participating in that also, because we firmly believe as things progress that our students will be more and more doing more and more learning outside of the classroom. So as much as we can anticipate that, we think we can think ahead and develop opportunities for the kids. So we've also been writing grants with partner schools to develop some of these ideas, working over in East Greenwich right now with a librarian to develop her makerspace with a focus on distributed learning, in which the kids, when we work with schools and teachers, we like to think about flipping the classroom from teacher-centered to student-centered, because we know that the teachers feel overwhelmed, that they feel like they have to learn all this technology when in many cases they're surrounded by children, students who in fact know more than they do. So what can we do to develop classrooms, libraries, spaces where kids can explore and learn together, yet continue to get supportive coaching where they can grow at a pace that's more appropriate for them? Because as great as you guys are doing down here in Tiverton, still the most common word to describe school is boring. And so kids are capable of really learning a lot. So, and we have professional development that we've been offering, particularly in the realm of Scratch, that's been free to your teachers. Janice Kowalczyk has been leading that effort. And as I said, I've just been going around and talking to superintendents and just seeing if there's ways that we could partner, write grants together. The Rhode Island Foundation is interested in partnering grants to see if they can incorporate maker-centered learning. So I'd just be happy to talk with anyone who wants to learn more about what we do. You're welcome to come by the lab anytime. We're open from 9 to 6 every day, and we stay open for families on Friday nights until 8. So we like to think that we have an integrated environment, people of all different ages, all different backgrounds coming together to learn and create and enjoy each other's company. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any questions, though?
Mrs. Black?
So Steve, were we on the cutting edge of all this, or what, 10 years ago? Come on.
We're
Right? Tiverton, right there.
Tiverton. Oh, you guys are on the cutting edge.
No,
yeah.
but we kept coming over the bridge to
You kept
Newport
coming
and
over
saying,
the
don't
bridge,
forget
yeah.
about Tiverton, we're part of Newport County. Because
And
even Newport County would get grants and Tiverton wasn't in it, right?
Right.
I remember one time they had an Aquidneck Island thing and we said, oh no, you can't call it that because we're here, so it's Newport
Yeah.
County Mental Co-op. And
Well,
Steve's been great with Chris Simonelli, and it's been wonderful.
Well, you
So
guys are
we'll
lucky
keep
to,
working together and moving the kids forward. Thank you.
lucky to have a woman with gold shoes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it, Steve, is it mostly off-site or on-site, or a combination of both?
It's a combination of both. So our programs run, the high school programs run 4 days a week in the lab, and then we run All Saints STEAM Academy. We've worked with Newport Public Schools. So if we thought of let's say, I know Sally's mentioned you guys have thought about a maker space or what that goes. And so what we've found is that people get obsessed with equipment, you know, but it's really about process. You know, it's like, how do you create the environment that where the kids can learn in a way that makes sense for them, yet you can keep coaching them up. So that's offsite stuff. So if, you know, we think about writing a grant with a partner school, we think about doing some professional development for teachers, and then creating some time where we're in there with your staff working side by side and with the students, and then letting you guys run with it. So that's kind of our offsite stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I think we
Yeah,
are
we're
back
back.
now to
Old business.
9.
old business, 2017, 2018 budget.
Well, we didn't do 9.
We didn't do 9?
Election of positions vacated.
Yes.
Do we have, I thought this was for committees. No?
Nobody vacated.
Oh, okay.
That was for,
That was for the election.
That
I
was
wasn't
available.
sure if people were gonna switch committees, and, but that's
you
not
could,
what
that could
is.
be used for that if, I guess,
Uh,
if people.
well,
if
it
you
would have
wanted
to be if I step, because it's technically,
And if everybody's happy where they are, then I thought that's what that was, is if anybody wanted to switch committees they were on.
That's how the attorneys told us to put it
Okay.
down for that one.
oh, okay.
We're good.
Well,
I
I'm
didn't know what it
certainly
was.
willing to entertain discussion of that if anyone wants to. We, you know, have a subcommittee discussion later, but if there's other,
Yeah, so that probably covers it.
well, that's specific to the communications. So if any of the committee members would like to jump ship or clamor aboard,
Yeah, I just didn't know if anyone else was good. Okay.
I'm good. Okay.
But
All right. So
do you want to take 11H then?
11H? We'd have to move it up, I think.
Because that ties to,
Okay, I'll make a
Kinda
motion to
ties
move
to
up
that.
11H.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay.
Diane asked for this item to be placed, so I'll turn it over to.
Oh, okay, there we go, 'cause
Dave-
that's what I thought 9 was.
All right. So does that have to be by vote of the committee?
Yes, you need to.
Okay.
If
So,
someone wants to serve on it. I mean, we already have.
Yeah, so I'm already on the communications subcommittee. I'm happy to continue on that. We are able to have 2 committee members on each of our subcommittees without creating a quorum. I would certainly welcome Mrs. Farnworth's.
Yeah, and I brought
participation.
it up because of my participation on that committee since its inception.
Right. And you're also involved in the strategic plan that sort of led to the
Yeah.
creation of that subcommittee.
So I didn't want there to ever be an issue if I decided to go to meetings. So I said, might as well just ask to be placed on it.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to appoint Mrs. Farnworth to the Communications Subcommittee.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Very good. So now, can we go to 10?
Yes.
All right. Keep on trying to get there. All right.
Thankfully, we have tabs.
Yes. Screwed up my thing. All right, so, Mr. Eric?
We've provided the information that was requested, Mr. Fiore.
Right.
I don't want to say we, Mr. Fiore did all the work on it. It's really, we just provided it, as requested, so I'm not, be happy to answer any questions that members may have about the different
Yeah.
data
okay.
sets, so.
So, if I could jump in here, I'm most curious about Tiverton School Department capital purchase examples funded from fund balance. It's sort of towards the end of the packet.
Mhm.
We have FY 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So my understanding, so these are not examples as in, these are things we could have, these are expenditures that we have made, correct?
That's correct. That's
Okay. And by using the word examples, do you mean that it's not comprehensive, or do you think it is comprehensive?
I think it's very comprehensive.
It looks comprehensive to me.
So there would
but-
be nothing missing.
No. That's what we purchased.
Okay. And then, so as I understand the, and then in the FY18, these are things that we could, that we have identified needs that we could be using the, that we could be expending capital funds.
That's
Correct. As part of the budget presentation, these were the items that we had specifically recommended in conjunction with next year's budget.
And I believe we voted on this, right?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Correct. But this is not included in the budget that will be.
That's not in
on
the operating
referendum.
budget, that's correct.
Right.
And which is consistent with how we've presented the budget
Correct.
the last few years. We've had a separate capital.
Okay. So then, the next 3 pages that are labeled have a little logo RGB in the
Yes.
lower right. So these are all things that were identified in the facility study, which are in our 5-year capital improvement plan, but only those things that are orange are covered by the bonding, correct? So
That's
everything
correct.
that is not in orange are things that we would actually need to do at some point.
And yes, and during that, and the 5-year window is important because that's when the town can get reimbursement. You can do it at any point in the 5-year window that they give you. You could do it all in 1 year or spread it out over 5 like we have here. But after 2020, obviously we wouldn't wait that long, but we would resubmit another 5-year capital plan, based on what work we have completed. But this is a pretty accurate and clear depiction of what still needs to be done.
And over the past few that's the important thing about being included on the list. But as we were building this list, we also knew that it was going to be quite expensive, even for items that we weren't going to ask for as part of the bond. And that's part of the reason that we have some capital funds set aside that haven't been specifically identified yet.
Because right. That's correct.
Basically fund ourselves in conjunction with the 15.2 million that we have the bond for. So really our capital needs are the 25.4 million.
And, when we went through the whole process of reviewing the facility study and trying to target things, we knew at the time that 25 million was a more realistic number in terms of doing the work that was needed.
And we also talked about, it's also important when discussing this, we did have conversations about what the limit the town could afford.
Right, no, that's what I mean.
And so we were respectful of that, and that's why the $15 million was the number that the committee eventually settled on, and the work that goes with it. And
the cost, when we were talking also, there was a brief discussion with Middletown about actually, they came to us, we weren't really looking to do this, but the cost of building a new high school is $170 to $200 million, is that correct?
To build a high school just for our size, and Mr. DeQuattro probably could verify, it probably run between 70 and 80 million, just for our size.
Oh.
Just for 600 student school.
Right.
You'd build it for probably capacity of 800, but you're looking at 70 to 80 million in today's dollars. Barrington was looking at a new middle school, similar size. I think they were at 80 million. So that's the going rate for size school this size. Never mind 2 schools.
Yeah, I guess that's where I was going that's why I was thinking in the.
And even if you combine them with a
sub 200 million.
You use the same gyms, same library, the same common space, like some schools do in different parts of the country, you're still probably looking at anywhere, probably around 130, 140 million.
Okay. And the biggest item that I came up with was 1.8 million for piping of water distribution system to plumbing fixtures. Is there anything much higher than that? There's several items that were in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, like the lighting fixture and the emergency power upgrade.
No, I don't think there's anything bigger than that.
No, but it's important to note, these lists, as you see the prioritization of these, pretty much all of the priority ones with the exception, well, actually all of them I believe made the bond, and then the highest remaining one is that number 2 priority that you just mentioned of 1.8 million. So when we decided what we were going to put in the bond, we were careful to pick up a lot of these most priority and most expensive items, which we were successful.
Right.
And again, we had a series of meetings for those who weren't on the committee and may not have been following at the time, but we had a number of meetings where the Facilities Committee prioritized first all the work that needed to be done, brought it to the committee for their approval, and that's what those numbers represent when you see the ones, the twos, the threes.
Okay.
And just for clarification, that's 1.8 million at the middle school and 1.8 million at the high school. That's 3.6.
That is correct.
And this was all presented at the joint meeting of the Budget Committee and the Town Council and the School Committee.
3 times.
Yeah.
Remember? We presented this, so
Yeah.
they all have it.
Although I think some of those meetings were with the, were before the election, so I think
Right.
it's significantly different
No,
members.
a year, not this past
Yeah.
Yeah.
joint session, but
Well, that was like 30
previously,
seconds, wasn't it?
we had
I mean-
3 meetings before the school
Before
committee
that.
voted
Right.
to ask for the bond. We
Right,
had 3
right,
of those
right.
joint meetings.
So, the point being, I think that Mrs. Black is maybe trying to make is that the membership of the current budget committee is
Different.
only 3 or
That's
4
correct.
people who would have heard that presentation.
That's correct.
I think as far as like the budget, this year's budget, the big takeaway for us is there's a lot of discussion about how we have so much money in fund balance. But what people need to understand is this is what we're spending on it. I think it was,
Right.
7, 8 years ago, Sally, they used to budget for our capital items.
That's correct.
But then that was stripped away, and
So
they
now-
don't do that anymore. That the budget committee does not schedule to pay for the capital needs of the school committee. We're now on our own
Right, right.
to either bond it or pay for any of, not only the capital needs, but any sort of emergency, if our pipes all of a sudden go. So I think that's kind of the discussion is, well, your fund balance is so high, but it's needed
So are the needs, yeah.
because of
Yeah.
what we're using
Yeah.
it for.
Well, and my impression, maybe not borne out by the facts, but, is that we did not do a lot of maintenance in the
Pass.
20 years prior to,
40, 60.
yeah.
Certainly, when there was no fund balance, there wasn't an opportunity to do what we've been doing. Yeah. And it's important to note that in compiling this report, for those that are skeptical of anything that we're presenting, RIDE has concurred with our priority
Right.
rankings, so there's objectivity with RIDE and the consultants that have put this together. It's just not us saying we need these items.
And all of these expenditures are eligible for between 30 and 40%
again,
reimbursement, which actually goes back to the town.
Again, it's hard to have capital purchases or make capital improvements when you're averaging 1.9% over the last 10 or 11 years for budget increases. It's impossible for a budget to hold that. Again, this isn't anything new, but there are, our neighbors to, I guess, our west have warrants where all their capital for the school departments are paid for by the town. All the island communities, they pay for their capital it's in their operational budgets. We don't pay for it that way. I mean, it'd be simpler and it'd be easier because it'd be in one pot of money and it'd be easy to explain, but we haven't done that, as Deb said, for the last 7 or 8 years.
All right, well, we will be meeting with them on Thursday, and I believe they're going to try and put us early on in the agenda, and.
There is one point, I'm
Yep.
sorry, that they talked about, and we saw the magical mystery charts of student enrollment from 2001. Doug researched it, went to RIDE. We could only go back to '05, so I'm not quite sure where the numbers, the
Yeah.
data that has been put out there. We could only go back to '05, and that's reflective in the backup documents that you have.
What I think I would like to do is send them as backup, because I
think we should do that.
We have asked them not to kind of throw things at us at the last minute.
I think we should send that to them so they'll have it
but
beforehand, I could bring it
the-
over tonight.
Do you have a key?
They have a meeting right now, I could run right in.
Oh, okay.
If you want to vote
So,
for that.
I don't want to.
I didn't know how she was getting in.
I don't want to bury them, certainly, with paper.
No, it's
I
all
think
good
I know.
information. You did a
So,
wonderful job.
I think
Mr.
that,
Fiore.
yeah, this is a fantastic job of actually assembling the data that we need. And you are to be commended, Mr. Fiore, and Mr. Rurick. So I would like to send them the capital purchases made and the 5-year capital improvement plan. I think the other data is, and perhaps the 2016-2017 teacher basic scale.
Definitely, because they're always talking about that. So
Because I think
it's
that
good to see
remains one of their
Yep.
more difficult humps to get over emotionally. It says 2016-2017 teacher basic scale.
It's on
The summarization of the state data that we have.
It's towards the back.
the
We
latest.
got from the school
It's right
committees.
below the GFOA best practices.
It's the latest one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got that from the
That's the latest one
school
from
committee.
RIDE.
You know, I think those
It's the
are
School Committee Association.
the relevant data points that we want to present to them.
Agree.
And you know, I think those are the things that will help inform their decision.
I also think the enrollment versus teachers critical.
Okay.
That shows that we've,
Yep.
And again, I know they go back to '01. That data, going back 10 years is more than enough to get
That's good.
to use a
Yeah.
trend to show the drop in enrollment, also with the reduction in staff. And again, it isn't something that they like, much like the salary scales, but they are facts, and
Yeah.
they're important facts for them to be made, to be reminded of, I believe.
Okay.
That would be
So
good.
those 4 items, so the teacher basic scale, enrollment versus teachers, and those are really what we're going to be focusing on for the discussion, and then
Capital
the
purchases.
capital purchases and the
5-year plan.
5-year capital improvement plan.
You have all those.
Okay.
And thank you again, Mr. Fiore. Good
Yeah.
job.
Great
You're
job.
welcome.
There was so much work, he had to take a mini vacation after he finished.
Well, he kept on sending email after email.
I know, what's he doing taking a vacation? I don't know, I have to
All right.
talk to him about
I think email might have crashed if I did all
that.
of
Yeah,
that.
I think it might have.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other discussion?
Has there been any serious discussions as to
So you can just.
what's remaining on
Unless you wanna
this
take it.
5-year plan and maybe some of the items that we could consider hitting in the next fiscal year?
Well, I think that is,
Well, we've already approved what did we approve?
1.8,
1.7.
I think.
Of the,
How much do we have
oh,
put aside?
that was the 106, I believe. Is that what you're referring to, the amount of capital that was
No,
presented?
how
with-
much do we have on reserve?
I'm sorry. In total, yeah, that includes a couple of pieces that aren't necessarily specified, though. It's just part of the general capital reserve that we created.
How much have we already set aside for next year?
That's 106,000.
Specific,
And
what's,
then
yeah.
Diane's question, right, was,
The
could we include more?
the commentary is gonna be that we do have an excess of reserves. I know that that'll come out. And I would like us to be in a position to say, well, we have this list of items that we direly need to do. And we may very well consider A, B, or C over the coming year to come out of that fund balance in order
So,
to make
yeah.
necessary
I
improvements
think the
in our
easiest
schools.
answer to that is to look at the ones that are not funded by the bond, and you quickly get to
Oh, you go way
over
over.
$1 million.
I think
Can't do it all, I know that.
the response to that charge, which is used quite a bit, would be along those lines. Our first priority is to get the roof at the middle school, what we just heard tonight. Once that's completed, we are then gonna go back to that, the chart that you have in front of you, and then prioritize based on what we have left, and also talking to our architect, in our building committee, what else should we do? Off that list. I have no idea what
Yeah.
you know,
I mean,
what those recommendations
An
would be.
alternative may be to prioritize, but what I would recommend is until we actually get the bids back to complete the work that we're
Right,
hoping to put
yeah.
on the bond, that we
We don't want to spend anything.
go further,
Yeah.
you know.
No, so I think that is certainly a topic that we would want to pursue in the meetings.
And I also
either
think it's
before
an,
the referendum or probably after the referendum, and as sort of as we're getting into the bidding process of the roof and the HVAC, because
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah, I mean,
but I think it's important, I think it's worth saying if it comes up tomorrow night, that's, you know, if everything goes
Thursday
right,
night.
that's what our,
As I say, if it's
Thursday
tomorrow
night, excuse me.
none of us-
something to talk about.
Freudian slip, Thursday night, that's our plan if everything goes right.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a few months before we get there. But the money's just not gonna sit there. We are gonna use it. We have a plan approved by RIDE that we're gonna get, the town 39% reimbursement on. And that's really the answer, I think.
Yeah.
You know, concise and short and to the point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see how.
We'll see how
with an
short and
audience,
concise
yeah.
Thursday night
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
And if we do an alternate budget, it has to be in by the 13th, and I don't think we have a meeting before that. Do
We have one on the 11th.
Oh, good, okay, perfect.
Okay.
13th is the date.
Of April, yeah, it's gotta be April,
Yep.
all right. All right, anything else on, number 10? So we can move to 11. F? Maybe
B.
B. Oh, yeah, B, sorry.
Yes, this is part of our new format. I don't know how you want to handle these since this is new for us. Do you have any questions, or how would you like me to?
Perhaps just a brief summary. I mean, we do have a lot of detail here.
Sure. Very quickly then, because it's for your benefit. Regional Special Education, the Board of Superintendents have hired Futures, which is a company out of Massachusetts, out of Springfield, to do a performance audit on regional special education to see if we are providing services not only appropriately but cost effective as possible, and to see if what recommendations they make so we can be more efficient, and see if there's any cost savings in how we do our business as a region. And that will get started this spring.
Just before we move on to that, any questions on that? Sort of
That's what I was gonna ask.
Oh, sorry. So it is, oh, go ahead.
Has there been any difficulties that the region has encountered as a result of Portsmouth pulling out?
None that I'm on the board. I'm not aware of any.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking with the economies of scale, right? You had a major player.
Our costs, no, again, because of the way the formula was, they had the lion's share of the cost because they had the most kids. We're doing it because we want to make sure this is still a viable model. They may come back, Futures may come back and say, you may want to look at this, you may want to go it alone. We don't know that. We think this is still cost effective for us based on the numbers that we run with our business managers internally. But we wanted to have fresh eyes, come in from the outside to tell us whether or not we're doing a good job and can we do it better, and what ways can we do it better.
So Portsmouth used a consultant
company.
before it's the same consultant?
Yep. Same firm.
Okay. And this is allocated to the districts proportionally,
Yes.
the cost of it. What's the cost?
$48,000.
Okay.
To
And so-
us or in
No, total.
The district.
Total.
Our district,
The
we're
sped district,
28% of that. Out of the 48,000 total
Yeah.
for the whole thing. We're
And we're 28%?
28, 29%. Is that about right?
Oh, I didn't realize Middletown was that big. Okay. And is that going to be something that it's not in our budget right now, so it would come from somewhere?
No, it would come out of the regional budget, I believe. Is that
That's
how
right.
we've configured
Yes.
it? Okay.
come out of our operations budget.
Meaning we'll
The
ultimately,
regional operations
when they give us
budget.
their budget for next year, it'll be part
I
of the
see.
regional
Okay,
budget.
okay. All right, got it. So we'll see it somewhere in.
Indirectly,
Right,
yeah.
they'll build it into their budget, and then, of course, obviously, I'll report back, the findings once we have them.
Okay.
The next issue is the high school. We have the tutoring sessions for English, math, science, and social studies started this week. I met with Mr. Ashley and Mrs. Mullen on Friday to look at the feasibility for the tutoring in school instead of just the after-school model, which we have up and running. We have another meeting, Amy's here somewhere, I believe Friday, right, to follow up. We think we might be able to implement some form of in-school tutoring, but it won't be every period of every day of the cycle, but it looks like we might be able to work something out where there's some tutoring sessions built in during the day for the rest of the school year here at the high school.
So those are ongoing already? Those are up and
We
running?
have the
already?
after-school sessions started Monday, yesterday.
Okay.
These other, the in-school model, we're still working on.
Right.
We haven't
Okay.
finalized that yet. We hope to finalize it Friday.
All right, and what's the uptake been by the students?
I haven't talked to Mr. Ashley about it yet. We're only in day 2.
Okay. Jack's not representing the high school.
No.
Okay. All right. Any sense, Mrs. Borges, any sense of what the uptake is? Sorry. You didn't have to.
This is only the second day.
You can pretend you're not here.
And I was actually at Fort Lawn yesterday, so I don't know.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
All the seniors first,
Mm-hmm.
to give them the schedule to make sure they know and tell them that it is expected that they do attend.
Okay.
The tutors will be taking attendance and submitting that to Mr. Ashley so we can track what students, what seniors especially are taking advantage of it.
All right, that was my next question. So they're not necessarily compelled, but they're threatened or something?
Strongly urged.
They are strongly urged, and Mr. Ashley is looking into the possibility of, listing the senior privileges that take place at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And pulling them back one at a time, especially that number of students that could possibly not graduate.
Yeah.
It'd be a sin for them not to take advantage of this several days a week in the classes that
So
they
perhaps
need.
some motivation.
Yes, maximum motivation is what's happening.
Okay.
I like that, maximum motivation.
We're
Yeah.
threatening. So, so
That's the father of
this
three.
is a question I thought of after the last meeting, but didn't ask then. So they're at risk. So there's, I think the number was 37 or 38?
Yes.
38.
So there's Ds that might actually pass. I mean,
Yes.
passing, right? So
Absolutely.
we have a sense of the breakdown there.
Well, that was
How
a
many
semester
Ds?
one average. It was all students. So any of those 38 had a below a 70 in required courses that they needed to graduate. The
Okay.
term closes on Friday. Teachers have till April
Third term.
7th, third term
Yeah.
have till April 7th or something to get their grades in. So as soon as all the grades in, we'll run another report to see how those 38 are, and hopefully we can see, hopefully that number comes down.
Yep.
You know, if they've got a 63 for semester one average, and they come back with a 75 for term 3, that's gonna push them up. So we should be able to, within the next few weeks, come up with
And then-
another number.
And Chris will also be meeting, have another round of meetings with the counselors and the students and their parents. So they have it again in the 4th quarter at the beginning to say, this is where you are, you need to do A, B, and
Right,
C.
hopefully just before April vacation or just when we get back, because grades close. I think report cards are going home just before April vacation. So we'll have those grades, so counselors will again, for students that need a second and or third scheduled meeting with Mr. Ashley and their parents. Because we do hold that, it's the principal, the counselor, the student, and their parents, so everyone is on the same page.
Right, okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say that, so would we have the data by April 11th?
Probably
Oh,
after.
we'll have maybe.
Oh, the 31st.
I don't know,
Promises,
we'd
but
have
I
it for
could
the
try.
28th. The 28th would be more
Lisa,
appropriate.
for seniors, what is the last date for seniors as far as May? You know, like when does their fourth term close?
I want to say June 1st is when their final, because graduation's on the 9th, then we back up for final exams.
Okay.
So that June 1st approximately is when their term ends and they take final exams.
All right, thank you.
Have we made any headway in the absentee issue?
Yes, there are. Well, we have our weekly meeting tomorrow that we'll discuss that at.
Okay.
We usually discuss that each week we meet. And Mr. Ashley has the list of students, and those are kids we try to meet with and get the contact with their parents and see what the reason is for their lack of attendance.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So you think April 28th is better?
Yes.
Thank you.
They could go get him like Mr. Stravis did, God bless him. Go right to the house and get him out of bed. That's what he used to do.
Just moving along, Lisa mentioned meetings. This week I'm meeting with guidance and the department heads to go over the student course selections for next year. I met with Mr. Ashley yesterday and Mrs. Wardell, and we'll be having those meetings again with the department heads and guidance this week. And again, one of the goals is to make sure we have enough sections and that they're balanced off. We also are beginning the process of building in the labs so that there's math labs. We already have math labs, but English labs, social studies labs, and science labs. So students who are struggling, for example, in Science 9, would get science 5 days a week, and then every other day they would have a lab. So they would get 8 sections of science versus just 5. So we're in the process of just starting that, building that into the schedule.
Okay.
Then, again, everyone knows about the water. Our water came back, we got good results back, and all the fountains are up and running.
Oh, a question on that. There was an email that had gone out to all the parents on that. Has there been any questions or feedback from anyone?
No, not that we're aware of.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And the one that keeps sticking in my mind is that outdoor fountain at the middle school. Is that in the area where Tiger Cubs is? Is it possible that we're gonna have very young students using that particular fountain? Because it was at the middle school the most problematic.
I thought that was.
That is toward the music room.
Oh, it's not that one.
It's not the one Tiger Cubs use. Tiger Cubs use up the hallway. Door they come in from Tiger Cubs.
Yeah.
If you go right, you go to the cafeteria, you go left, is the
Okay.
bathrooms
Yeah.
and the bubble.
Oh, the one in the middle is where
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was described as an outdoor one. Maybe I misunderstood.
I don't think we have it now.
That's what confused me. I didn't, no, we
Okay,
don't have any
and I'll go
outdoor.
back and read my,
I think it said outside music.
oh, maybe that's.
And maybe,
Literally
That
outside.
could be
music.
what I missed, okay.
and it is outside music, but not outside.
My concern was that there may have been one outdoors that the smaller kids had access to. Okay.
Do we have any working, well, actually, really, any water source right now that is unsafe if it was
No,
drunk?
all the water came back tested fine.
Okay, all right.
That's why we went out for the second round.
Right, right,
To make
right,
sure
right,
that
right.
the blood levels were below acceptable levels.
Okay.
And then faculty meetings, I've had 2 so far. I've met with the staff at Fort Barton last week, and I met just yesterday with the high school staff, and I have Picasset on Thursday. And then next week I have Ranger in the middle school to wrap it up. I was going to meet with the middle school back in February, but we had the snow day, so we had to reschedule.
Is that something you're planning on doing on a regular basis?
Plan on doing it at least twice a year to get the feedback, from the staff. I'm thinking more next year, maybe after we get back from Christmas, early January, and then maybe a little later, maybe in April next year.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Questions? All right.
Next is Suzette.
My report is divided into 3 sections. The first is with grants. The first grant was the Rhode Island Marine Trade Association grant. The second grant is continuing work on the Math Science Partnership Grant, which Mrs. Donnelly Roach presented to you before she took her leave. And we just continued working on that. And then the last grant is a grant that I do have on the agenda later on. The second area is meetings that are focused on curriculum and instruction. So I've facilitated elementary grade level meetings. I've also sat in on the Tiverton High School guidance and department chair meetings, Project Lead the Way meetings at the high school, middle school, the district elementary report card meetings, the PD committee meetings, and then finally district-wide, I've helped coordinate the park testing schedule, which I've included here, and I've worked with the technology team to help coordinate and hopefully have a very, very smooth running park assessment, which begins next week because our park is online. So it's all online.
And again, that was not optional, that was, RIDE directive, that all districts had to do it that way.
Look forward to hearing how that goes.
Yeah. Mr.
Thank you to the technology for working so hard on all that.
Mike, you want to come up and, Mr. Mendes is here, he wants to just kind of give you an update as to some of the maintenance issues that he's been addressing.
Well, thank you for inviting me here. Anyways, I've got a couple items that we've been doing as maintenance. One item was here at the high school, we corrected, it was the elevator. We had trouble with it, we called technicians in multiple times, multiple days, with multiple calls to them to get them here, to get them fixed. It ended up being a bad wire and a coil. And it's an old elevator, put in 1977. Things happen to let go. We had a good run at it. Second thing.
We have to go out and do some more work on it to make sure it's operational.
And that's the only elevator.
In the high school. Yes, we only have one.
There's one elevator in each building. Had a problem with the roof, leaky roofs here at the high school, mainly the superintendent's office. We've developed a new leak. We've been out on a roof, pumping it off, pumping the water off. Obviously, the drains are higher than the puddles are. So we have to pump the puddles to keep it from coming in the building. Fun, fun, fun. Another item is the snowstorm we had on Tuesday, the 14th. That was a lovely snowstorm. We was also, the same day, we had a generator problem. We tested the generator to make sure if something went awry on that day, or they were losing power and they need to open it, how to run it. We tested it. There's a contactor in there that got stuck when it shut off. Had to call an electrician in to get it repaired. It was beyond my ability because it's 480 volts. One touch, somebody could die instantly. And licensed electrician is the best way to go. Those are the pictures of the middle school lights. The big, heavy-looking lights.
Those are
the old lights. They're big and heavy, trust me. The new ones, that is a new one for a walkway. The old ones were 150 watts, the new ones are 26 watts, so we're gonna be saving a lot of electricity. There's a picture of one that's in the parking lot, like the three of them in the parking lot. which I went from 1600 watts down to 150 watts, and about 4 times brighter. So right now, at this point, we're about halfway done with the fixtures, installing them, and by the end of next week, I'm hoping to be done with it.
Does that include the 2 new poles?
And that includes the 2 new poles.
And just for the committee's benefit, how old is the generator at the middle school?
1976.
Okay, it's as old as the building. And again, that is a town, because it's a town shelter. It's an emergency shelter. It's a town item that I mean, we run it, and as Mike,
We maintain it, basically.
we maintain it, but I think, was it $250,000 to Jim?
Close to that, or a little bit
$250,000 to replace the generator, or more? Okay,
But
it's,
that's about ballpark.
it's been an ongoing question as to, A, who's gonna pay for it and when, and my answer's been not us, and not anytime soon. So, it's really up to the town. I know they were looking at grants, I believe, to see if they could find a federal grant for it.
Because right now, the generator is housed inside the middle school. When they put a new one in, it'll be outside the middle school. So if anything happens, it's outside the building, where the fire department can get to all 4 sides in it, and not burn the building down, basically, which we do not want.
Mike, you also updated some lighting outside at the high school. Could you kind of briefly cover what that is? We noticed we had some similar situations around the loading dock at the high school where light was less than optimal, so we've replaced LED lighting there.
About 3 months ago, I replaced some LED lights out by the loading dock. It was very dark for trucks coming early in the morning. And the stairs were dark going down the back. I replaced all the lights with LEDs, which are more efficient. They were like 22-year guarantee on them. So the next 22 years, you don't have to touch lights.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, the stairs have been repainted as well back there.
What?
The painting of stairs as well as the safety
Stairs, sort of the safety yellow
improvement.
on them. So just more visual.
And just, we were speaking of the middle school earlier, we'll be requesting permission to go out to bid for the middle school parking lot at the next meeting, because we want to do the work between the time, and it's going to be a timing issue, from the time school gets out before they start doing the roofing. Because we want to try to do it, before all the trucks or whatever, the contractors are coming in. So we will be asking permission to go out to bid.
Now,
at
there's
the
gonna be
next
no
meeting.
danger of them taking that heavy equipment on a freshly done lot, right?
Right, well, that's why we have to talk to whoever the contractor that we awarded to, and we would have to work on a schedule as to when, it's possible that they could do the side, the bigger area, and then use the front, the roundabout, as their staging area to do work, but no, they could do it simultaneously, they just couldn't go on the new area, the new paved area, and then come back and pave that circular area. That's something we'd have to work out with whoever gets the bid.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so now, 11. Request to seek grants for mobile STEM lab at
Yep,
Pocasset.
just let me get to. The first is Mrs. Riley's request to seek grants which could help fund a mobile STEM lab for grades 3 and 4. I've attached the supporting documents. I'm recommending the committee give her permission to pursue the funding for the lab.
Any discussion? Do you have a motion?
A second.
All those in favor? Sorry,
And this,
ask for a motion first, right?
And the second is also a second request from Mrs. Riley to start a before-school exercise program.
I make a motion for that, for the health and wellness.
Second, do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? And we did H, so request to seek Project Lead the Way grants.
Suzette, do you want to take that one?
I'm just seeking blanket approval to apply for Project Lead the Way grants. As they happen to come up, a lot of times the grant deadline is very, very quick and very short, and I just like blanket approval to apply for them as they come up.
Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And announcements.
Oh, tomorrow, State House cheerleaders and basketball team being recognized by the General Assembly at 4 o'clock.
I have just one thing for the agenda. I'm not going to be at the April 11th meeting due to my work schedule, but if I could just have the superintendent goals and evaluation report on the 28th. Is that one on the
Yes, that's the one after.
executive session? And if I could just ask everyone to be ready to address that.
Yep. Sure. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So
Second. All those in favor?
Yes.
Can you get
One
Sally
down and
copies?
36 to go, something like that? I'm gonna go home and count them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have to go down. You don't want to do a cover letter or anything?
Thank you.
You-
No, you wanna do a cover letter? Well, see, if we bring it tomorrow.
He can make, if you meet him back in the back, he
No,
can
but
make
what
the
I'm saying is,
copies.
if we bring them tomorrow, they don't go to their mailbox, they'll say, I didn't see it. If I bring
When?
it to them tonight.
Early.
You don't have to
He
do a
said
cover
we would be
letter, I'll
like
just say-
first or second or something like that.
Just, yeah.
I mean, they can.
You want us to make it? We can
No,
make
no, I'll
it.
go. I have to go back down to the office. That's fine.